Here's an incredible headline. Something that we, the water cure, have been waiting 19 years for the government to get involved and finally say something about the water cure, especially salt. Because this has been a long time, it's been going on for a long time, and salt has been given a bad rap. Well, we don't need salt. Salt isn't that important. Cut back, cut back. Well, how about the fact that people used to be put to death by salt deprivation because it would kill you slower and more horribly? That was during the Middle Ages. So what's been going on here? I'm going to take a few cuts out of a piece here that come out by the CDC, Center of Disease Control, who finally admitted the truth, that there's no benefit in reducing salt. I shudder to think how many lives have been destroyed with the low salt diet. I was always trying to get people, go for a swim in the ocean and watch what happens. Take a salt bath. But all that really matters is that somebody finally realized this is really true. What bothers me, there's so many people here in northeastern Pennsylvania who I know have died because of lack of salt. Well, here's what they have to say. A recent report commissioned by the Center for Disease Control reviewed the health benefits of reducing salt intake, and the take-home message is that salt, in the quantities consumed by most Americans, is no longer considered a substantial health hazard. What the CDC study reported explicitly is that there is no benefit and may be a danger from reducing our salt intake below a teaspoon a day. What was absent about the report wasn't the difference between healthy mineral salts and iodized table salt. All I know is about table salt. That should be banned. That is deadly. Well, it may be that we are better off with more salt than less, up to 2 or even 3 teaspoons a day. You know, Google what information you can on salt, such as diseases cured with sea salt, or diseases caused by lack of sea salt. Well, how did it happen that such standard medical advice drifted astray, then went uncorrected for so long? Well, it certainly wasn't that Dr. Batman-Gelly just wasn't trying to tell everybody, and we here of the Water Cure have been doing this for 19 years, spent a ton of money, never cost you, the taxpayer, or anybody 1 cent, because we've done this at no cost to you. But it really irritates me, the fact that this has been muzzled to protect profits. The review by National Academies Institute of Medicine, commissioned by CDC, considered dozens of studies from cross-cultural, less reliable, to prospective randomized with control studies. Most showed no relationship between salt intake and any health outcome. Some seem to indicate that more salt had a beneficial effect. One 2008 study the committee examined, for example, assigned 232 Italian patients with aggressively treated moderate to severe congestive heart failure to consume either 2,760 or 1,840 milligrams of sodium a day, but otherwise to consume the same diet. More than twice as many deaths, 15 as compared with 6 in the higher salt group. Well, I'm short a couple of words in there. Let's run by that one again. Well, I'm still missing a couple of words. At any rate, there was twice as many deaths as in the group of the people that had more salt. How about that? Another study published in 2011 followed 28,000 subjects with high blood pressure, ages 55 and older, and analyzed their sodium consumption by urinalysis. The researchers reported that the risk of heart attack, strokes, congestive heart failure, and death from heart disease increased significantly for those consuming more than 7,000 milligrams of sodium a day, and for those consuming fewer than 3,000 milligrams of sodium a day. A key thing in there, if you Google heart disease cured with sea salt and water, you'll be amazed. There's a lot of testimonies of people who got totally rid of all effects of previous heart attacks. To translate this last study of the teaspoons, The finding was that anything between 1 to 1.5 and 3 teaspoons of salt per day is just fine. Ask your doctor about that. Every doctor should be furious over this because he's been sold a bill of goods. But who benefits? Who benefits by this high, I should say, the low usage of salt? The people who make money on bad health. Most Americans who aren't consciously restricting salt fall into the range of 1.5 to 3 teaspoons a day. People who are on low salt diets for medical reasons are getting as little as a half a teaspoon. And they're well into the range where dearth of salt is harming them. So the people on low salt diet are being harmed. The worst impact of low salt is on insulin sensitivity. Loss of insulin sensitivity is a big risk factor for all diseases of old age. Now we see a lot of people getting rid of diabetes, for instance. Google diabetes cured with sea salt and water. Bottom line, from our experience, I have no doubt that about 1.7, I should say, $170 billion a month could be saved on health costs with more salt. Now that's not alone, of course, some people have to quit the caffeine, alcohol, and soda. But Google any problem you've got and follow with the words, cured with sea salt and water. In other words, if you have type 2 diabetes, Google type 2 diabetes cured with sea salt and water. Salt is the most common and readily available non-metallic mineral in the world. So how can a mineral, which we bathe in and absorb in all foods since our existence, be so harmful for the human body? 2 words, it isn't. Actually, the opposite is true. A low salt diet will actually increase your risk of death. I remember when Dr. Batman Gillish wrote an article on salt. He said the lower your salt intake, the worse off you are. And he said that is absolutely what the medical profession, the medical science, what they had to say about salt is absolutely scientific absurdity. How about David Brownstein, a doctor? He wrote a book called Salt Your Way to Health. Check that one off. Well, and it says here, world-renowned salt researcher Dr. Brownstein states that even in those individuals with high blood pressure, the lowering effect is quite modest at best when reducing salt. So everything they say is wrong. Today that was Rush Limbaugh, and he blasted the fact that why did it take so long? There's been a lot of information out there on it. Thank you, Rush Limbaugh. Many researchers imply that any effect on blood pressure is not a direct consequence of salt, but other minerals acting in the body. Still, Brownstein will tell you that he learned in medical school the traditional party line that salt equals hypertension is just nuts. He's called it a myth of mammoth proportions. Now, I know for a fact that Brownstein was a friend of Dr. Batman Gellish's, and it was Dr. Batman Gellish who clued him in on how important sea salt was. A study by lead researcher Dr. Niels Grotel of Copenhagen in Denmark, that's the Copenhagen University Hospital, adds to a growing body of research questioning the long-term benefits of a low-salt diet. Right now, I have a friend of mine who's in a hospital in Scranton, and he's in terrible shape. Why? He's on a low-salt diet. They have him scared to death. His name, well, I won't give you his name, no sense in embarrassing him. I'd like to give the name of the hospital, but you can figure it out because all these hospitals are talking about low-salt diets. But they're doing what they've been taught in school, and if they don't follow the protocols, they could lose their licenses. In a systematic review published by the Cochrane Library, British science found that cutting salt consumption did not translate into lower death or a heart disease risk. With governments setting lower targets for salt intake and food manufacturers working to remove it from their products, it's really important that we do some large research trials to get a full understanding of the benefits and risks of reducing salt intake. Well, why have we been told that salt is so deadly? It has what nutritionists like to call biological plausibility. Eat more salt and your body retains water to maintain a stable concentration of sodium in your blood. At any rate, what you want to do is just make it real simple. Google diseases cured with sea salt. Google diseases caused by lack of sea salt. You've got to get the truth out. The problem with the United States is we put money before people. Why else are the drug companies giving big campaign contributions to our legislators? And certainly no good can come out of that, because they're expecting, the drug companies are expecting to get something and make more money on the drugs. When was the last time a drug cured anything? The last time they did anything that I know of was 1955 with polio. And I understand there's still a problem there. All I know is I'm sick of spending much of my life. It's not so much spending so much of my life. It's spending so much time and money and having the powers that be ignore it. We run tons of spots. We run now about, not as much as we used to, but we're doing 660, or 600 I should say, a month. And I get irritated. We have all kinds of testimonials. Google testimonials, water cure testimonials, and see how many you get. It's very upsetting, because I know we can cut health costs by about $170 billion a month. And I would love to debate the experts who disagree with anything I say here. And it's not because I'm so smart. This is just common sense. I mean, are we this hard up that we have to keep people sick to make money? This is, oops, I just tore a piece of my copy here. I'm not going to read around it. Well, does salt raise our blood pressure, cause hypertension, then strokes, and then kill us? The answer is no, absolutely not. And you'll find that people with strokes are dehydrated. Dr. Batman-Gelich helped lots of people with strokes and get rid of the side effects. A paper published in the American Journal of Hypertension warns that once average daily consumption of salt was below 6.25 grams, the risk of heart attacks and strokes started to increase once more. Restricting salt consumption increases the level of cholesterol and triglycerides. I just put a sign out the front. Literally, cholesterol drugs kill. Check that out yourself. Don't believe anybody, don't believe me. All I can say is this: we don't make a dime on it. But healthcare is it's a $3 trillion a year business. So what do? My wife, what have we done for years? We spend our own money to help people get well. What financial benefit is it for us? Don't make a dime. We put in a tremendous amount of time, a tremendous amount of money, and then we get people trying to stop us. It's like you're trying to save lives and somebody's tripping you. But what can we expect when we value money more than people? We need to change the way we live. Our country's going down the tubes because of this. The same logic in healthcare. And boy, that's a sin to call it healthcare, because it's anything but profit care maybe. Well, the problem is not salt. It's a type of salt we use. It takes just half an hour for one meal high in table salt to significantly impair the arteries' ability to pump blood around the body. Alarming research has shown blood becomes temporarily more restricted between 30 minutes and an hour after the food has been consumed. Most scientific studies use processed table salt as a source of sodium, which is, well, crap salt, which the body has a hard time physiologically to process, unlike its natural counterpart, sea salt, said Dr. Jamo Najima, who only recommends sea salt to his patients. There's good salt and bad salt. Know the difference. The table salt is a bad salt. It's about time, with our country going down the tubes, people struggling to keep alive, and people are going bankrupt trying to keep up paying bills on medical bills, and there's nothing wrong with the people to begin with, other than being a couple of quarts low. Don't believe me, as I said before. Check it out yourself. And don't forget our Facebook page. I went blank. I can tell you what to Google, but like water cure. I have to write that down. You want to back that up?
Yeah.
Like water cure. Like water cure page on Facebook. Okay.
Okay.
Like our water cure page on Facebook. We need people around the world to know the truth about this. We can't go on, we're throwing our country away. And it's all because we're all about money. That's got to change. As far as I'm concerned about politics, which is a very difficult situation, it's difficult for anybody to be trusted with power. I think we should need to do what the ancient Greeks did. And what they did, they banned elections and had all elections filled by lottery, so there was no incentive for anybody to go ripping each other off. How about that?